Well, first of all, let's be clear. I didn't want to be there. I ran out of job prospects in New York. I'm a homebody. I tend to be very conservative in my lifestyle. I loved home. I lived near the beach, near Coney Island, which is a beach for working class people. I know, not for rich people. And I was very unhappy to have to leave. So I had no choice.
And where's the pool?
The pool's in Chicago. I stumbled upon the job. It was really just an accident. Once I got the job, it was very difficult for the pool to get rid of me because the pool claims to be a student-centered school. It used to have the claim to fame in U.S. News and World Report of being the school where students are happiest. And it also had what's called a mission, a Vincentian mission, which is social concern with social concern. So I was extremely, I think it's fair to say, no point in false modesty, I was extremely popular with the students. And I was acting out the social mission. I was devoting myself to oppressed people, poor people, and so forth. So I seemed to fit the bill on all counts. So even though each year they would do something vicious to try to get rid of me, salary cuts, all sorts of...
So when they first hired you, are they just not aware what the Holocaust industry book is?
They didn't really care because I was just hired to replace somebody for a semester. So they just figured, okay, he'll be here for a semester, who cares really who he is. I was the last minute, it was in the summer. The chair of the department, I remember that a couple of my friends took me to her backyard. They said, you know, that we need somebody for this semester. Can you hire Norm? She didn't really know, she didn't really care. I mean, it's a third-tier school. So she just hired me from a backyard. I remember she was sitting in the backyard on a beach chair. We need somebody, she's the chair, she's in charge of the schedule. They need somebody to fill a spot. They hired me. The problem was how to get rid of me. Once I had my foot in the door and the students liked me, they didn't know how to get rid of me. So just to give you one example, after the first year, the whole hysteria starts up. Finkelstein's teaching at the pool, got to get rid of Finkelstein. And the students, they didn't want me to go. So they had a sit-in the president's office. The president took me into his office. It was not the current president, it was Father Minogue was his name. The current president never let me into his office. I never met him, I never saw him. I don't even know what he looks like, frankly. But that time it was Father Minogue. He took me into his office and he said to me that, you know, there's a real problem with rehiring you for another year. And I said to him, look, if the issue is that the pool is going to take a big hit financially because of me, then in my opinion, it's my opinion, you have the right to get rid of me. Because I've always been of the view, nobody should have to bear the burden of my politics. My politics are my problem. And the pool as an institution which was servicing working class kids, they should not have to take a financial hit because of me. So if that's the issue, I'm ready to go. I know there's a compensatory issue or countervailing issue of academic freedom, but I'd say between the two, I'm willing to accept the pool shouldn't have to take the hit, even though it violates some principle of academic freedom. That was my judgment call. I said, but if the issue is my politics, statements that I've made, allegations that have been made about I said this and that, I said, look, I'm willing to go through with you statement by statement, you quote them, and let's go through what was my reasoning. Because I said, you'll be very surprised. People don't understand my personality. They think I'm reckless. Not at all. I think through everything. I am very careful what I say. And I'm not going to say something which in my view cannot be defended on rational grounds. So I said to him, if it's the second, then let's have a discussion. And I remember his words were, he called the chair in and he said, quote, "We're going to take a hit." That was his words. "We're going to take a hit, but I'm keeping him." However, there are two things to say. We have to try to find the right balance. He was taking, at that point, it was only my first or second year. So there was no danger of me getting tenured. So he figured another year, who knows what's going to happen in a year. He can get hit by a truck, a brick can fall on his head, or maybe he'll get tired, he'll find another job. So it was really just a year. But on the other hand, he took a chance which nobody else was willing to take. And it may sound strange coming from me. I actually respect DePaul for that. Because they kept me for 6 years in the middle of this hysteria.
So after this meeting at DePaul, it's not like you pull back at all or keep your head down at all. You're actually out there more and more. You're invited to speak all over the world, up and down North America. You're getting into debates with some of the leading defenders of Israeli policy. You're becoming probably, certainly in the English-speaking world, one of the best-known critics of Israeli policy. And so how did this affect your relations as you go in your relationship with DePaul? This is becoming more and more an issue for them.
I happen to think that these are speculations, but I think they're speculations which have some basis, some significant basis, in fact. I think that's what actually caused the real problem for me at DePaul. Some people think it's my politics. It's not really true. Because in academia nowadays, I'm actually, from the point of view of large segments of academia, I'm actually conservative. I still support the two-state settlement. Academics are now saying one-state settlement. I'm I stick to international law on all issues, on issues of terrorism, on everything. What the international law says, that's me. So actually, as I said, from point of view of politics per se, I'm actually pretty conservative.
But you're out there,
but that's the point.
Just let me add one thing.
Yeah.
This is now 2001, 2007. This is post 9/11, Bush
Yes.
years, and the whole post 9/11 atmosphere.
There's also another critical factor, which is now forgotten. It was also the second Intifada. And it evoked a huge reaction to Israeli repression during those years. And so exactly what you say is true. I was out there. And again, I don't want to sound boastful, but it's a factual matter. I never missed a class. I used to figure my classes to be at 3:15, end around 3:30. I would fly out to a school, I would speak, take the first plane out at 6 a.m., I'm in my class at 9 a.m. I was keeping an absolutely frenzied schedule, frenetic schedule, but I was out there. And wherever I went, because I had a certain amount of notoriety, and also because it was the middle of the second Intifada, and also because there's a big Palestine solidarity network at American universities and Canadian universities and European universities and colleges, I had huge crowds. I was getting 300 people, 500 people, 1,000 people everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. It was standing room only. And I knew I did my homework. I did not give rhetorical speeches, not at all. They were very methodical. It was the Chomsky style. I learned it at his lap, or at his knees, as the expression has it. And it was a Chomsky style. I prepared, I had all the facts, and I was convincing. And so I was becoming effective. And that was the problem. It was not my politics. It was that I was reaching a broad audience, and I was effective.
Yeah, it wasn't rhetoric. You were doing research and giving people the results of your research.
And I was becoming a problem.
But you had to know that when you go to DePaul, this might be the last place you can teach. It obviously didn't seem to hold you back. Did it not give you second thought?
No. I know, again, it's my character. No, it would never, I know it sounds arrogant. I'm human. I have 10,000 flaws, as Gandhi used to say, like everybody else. I have 10,000 flaws. But those considerations do not deter me. They do not, because I internalized deeply my parents' suffering and their feeling that, as my late mother used to say, the whole world abandoned them. The whole world abandoned them. And so there was no way that considerations of livelihood ever entered into my calculus about whether or not I will say something or not say something. That never happened. Of course, to some extent I was, self-pitying, because, like you said, it was inevitable that that was going to happen, the backlash. So why am I complaining? You knew what was going to happen, and then when it happened, you're sitting around pitying yourself. I don't have a job. I love to teach. I'll never be in a classroom again. Yeah, that part was inconsistent in me, because I wanted, so to speak, to have my cake and eat it. I want to be able to say the truth as I understood it, but then when I suffered the inevitable consequences, I was angry and very self-pitying about it. So there, I would say there was and continues to be an inconsistency in my character.